Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss stories that reveal the untold human truths behind famous faces. These stories matter, and your support helps keep them alive. Caroline Grassle's name has long been associated with comfort, warmth, and the feeling of home. For generations of viewers, she wasn't just an actress, she was Caroline Ingalls, the steady heart of a family that felt real even through a television screen. Yet behind that gentle presence was a woman carrying experiences she never believed she would one day share. At 82 years old, Caroline finally chose to speak, not for attention, not for controversy, but for peace. Her voice, calm yet weighted with memory, opened a door to a reality fans never imagined existed behind the wholesome world of Little House on the Prairie. For decades, Caroline understood that the image of the show mattered deeply to millions. It represented safety, morality, and emotional refuge. That understanding became part of her silence. She feared that speaking honestly would not only affect her career, but also disrupt something sacred to people who relied on the show during difficult times in their own lives. Carrying that responsibility shaped many of her decisions, often at the cost of her own emotional well-being. Caroline's journey into acting began long before fame found her. Born in 1942, she grew up with a love for performance that was rooted in discipline rather than glamour. Theater was her foundation, and the stage taught her patience, emotional control, and resilience. She spent years refining her craft, performing in regional productions where recognition was earned slowly and without guarantees. Those early years were filled with auditions, rejections, and brief successes that came and went without ceremony. By the early 1970s, Caroline had begun appearing in television roles, building a reputation as a reliable and thoughtful performer. She was respected, though not famous, and she approached each opportunity with professionalism and gratitude. When Little House on the Prairie entered her life, it felt like a blessing. The role of Caroline Ingalls promised stability, creative fulfillment, and the chance to portray a woman of strength and compassion. It was everything an actor could hope for at that stage of her career. What Caroline did not anticipate was how complex life on set would become. Landon was admired as a creative force, a leader, and a visionary. To the public, he embodied kindness and moral clarity. Working alongside him placed Caroline in an environment shaped by his authority, energy, and expectations. While moments of warmth existed, there were also moments that left her uncomfortable, confused, and emotionally unsettled, moments she felt unable to address openly. During the show's early years, Caroline faced a quiet internal conflict. She wanted to protect her work, her colleagues, and the show itself. At the same time, she struggled with interactions that blurred professional boundaries and left her questioning her place and safety within the environment. The culture of Hollywood at the time offered little room for women to speak without fear of consequences. Silence was often the price of survival. Each day on set required emotional discipline. Caroline delivered warmth, patience, and reassurance on screen while managing private discomfort off camera. Viewers saw a mother figure radiating calm and moral certainty, unaware of the effort it took to maintain that presence. Caroline understood the responsibility of her role and honored it fully, even when it meant setting aside her own emotional needs. Over time, the strain accumulated. Long hours, emotional suppression, and the pressure to remain composed began to shape her inner world. She became skilled at compartmentalizing, separating the character she played from the experiences she lived. This skill helped her endure, but it also isolated her. Few people knew the full weight she carried, and fewer still understood the cost of her silence. Caroline's decision to remain quiet was not weakness. It was strategy. Speaking out during the show's run could have ended her career, damaged professional relationships, and altered the legacy of something millions loved. She chose preservation over confrontation, even though that choice required enduring unresolved pain. For years, she told herself that staying silent was the responsible thing to do. Away from the set, Caroline searched for balance. She sought moments of peace, personal relationships, and creative outlets that allowed her to feel grounded. Yet the emotional residue of her experiences followed her. She often described the challenge of leaving work at work when the discomfort felt deeply personal. Over time, This internal conflict affected her sense of trust and emotional safety. The years passed, and Little House on the Prairie became a cultural landmark. Fans continued to associate Karen with warmth and stability, unaware of the internal battles she had fought to maintain that image. As society began changing, as conversations about power and accountability grew louder, Karen began to reflect differently on her past. What once felt unspeakable slowly became something she felt deserved acknowledgement. Breaking her silence was not an impulsive act. It was the result of years of reflection, therapy, and encouragement from people who believed her story mattered. At 82, Karen understood that time no longer needed to be her enemy. Speaking honestly became an act of reclaiming ownership over her own narrative. When she finally spoke, her words were measured, thoughtful, and deeply human. She did not seek revenge or spectacle. Instead, she described experiences that made her feel powerless and uncomfortable, emphasizing how subtle behaviors can have lasting emotional impact. Her honesty reframed conversations about the show without attempting to erase its significance. Public reaction was immediate and emotional. Fans expressed shock, sadness, and empathy. Many struggled to reconcile the comforting world they loved with the reality Karen revealed. Yet most responses centered on support, gratitude, and respect for her courage. Her story resonated with people who had also remained silent in their own lives. The entertainment industry took notice. Karen's experience became part of a broader conversation about workplace safety, authority, and accountability. Younger actors listened carefully, recognizing the importance of speaking up and supporting one another. Her voice carried weight not because of accusation, but because of truth. For Karen, the response brought both relief and reflection. Messages from fans reminded her that her honesty did not diminish the joy the show brought into people's lives. Instead, it added depth and humanity to it. She saw that vulnerability could coexist with legacy. Today, Karen lives with intention. She chooses how and when to share her story, mentors younger performers, and advocates for safer creative environments. Her life now reflects clarity rather than obligation. She understands that silence protected her once, but truth finally freed her. Her legacy has expanded beyond Caroline Ingalls. Karen Grassle now represents courage, resilience, and the power of reclaiming one's voice, even late in life. Her story reminds us that behind beloved characters are real people with unseen struggles. What Karen endured and finally shared teaches us the importance of listening, believing, and creating space for truth. It reminds us that honesty does not destroy memories, it deepens them. What are your thoughts on Karen finally breaking her silence after all these years? Share your perspective in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that reveal the real lives behind the stars.